Dear students, this video is going to focus on the poetry part 2, and this is from semester 4, and the area which I am going to take, that is modernist poetry. We have already discussed the theory part of this because some of the article I have already given you, discuss in which I am talking about the concepts of modern poetry. Now, I am going to talk about one of the poem, The Wasteland, T.S. Eliot, which is a very famous poem. Then Wallace Stevens, Peter Quince at the Clever, and Elizabeth Bishop, Question of Travel. Only this of Elizabeth Bishop. So now let's start. I'll just give you the idea about the writer, and that's a very short idea because we can actually cover a lot, but this video will be otherwise too long. So I'll be just giving you basic information about the writer and then the poem. In this video, I'm not going to give you much explanation because that's a modern poetry and you can understand, but there are basic things which are associated with the modern poetry which we will discuss here, and most of the things I'm leaving on you, go for interpretation, but in the next video, if you desire, I'll just give a explanation also. But anyway, poetry doesn't require explanation because it depends on us how do we take any kind of poetry. So okay, let's start. Wallace Stevenson was born in Reading, Pennsylvania on October 2, 1879. He attended Harvard University as an undergraduate from 1897 to 1900. He planned to travel to Paris and work as a writer, but after working briefly as a reporter for New York Herald Times, he decided to study law. Stevens graduated with a degree from New York Law School in 1903 and was admitted to the bar the following year. He practiced law in New York City until 1916, and his time period is 1879 to 1955. Wallace Stevenson was born in Reading, Pennsylvania, October 2, 1879. He attended Harvard, and this is what the basic information. Though Stevens was focused on his legal career, he was also part of New York literary community. He had several friends among the writers and painters in Greenwich Village, including William Carroll Williams, Marianne Moore, and E.E. Cummings. In 1914, under the pseudonym Peter Parson, he sent a group of poems under the title Phases to Harriet Monroe's as entries for a war poem competition by Poetry Magazine. Stevens did not win the prize, but Monroe published his work in November of that year. Stevens moved to Connecticut in 1916, having found employment at the Hartford Accident and Indemnity Co. That's a company where he became vice president in 1934. He had also begun to establish an identity for himself outside the world of law and business. His first book of poem, Harmonium, Alfred A. Knopf, published 1923, and exhibited the influence of both the English Romantic and French symbolistic, and demonstrated a wholly original style, a sensibility exotic, whimsical, and infused with the light and color of Impressionist painting. For the next several years, Stevens focused on his business career and he began to publish new poems. 1930, however, in following years, Knopf released the second edition of Harmonium, which include 14 new poems but exclude 3 of the decidedly weaker ones. More than any other modern poet, Stevens was concerned with the transformative power of imagination, composing poems on his way to and from the office and the evening. Stevens spent his day behind the desk at his office and led a quite relatively unlawful, uneventful life. Though now considered one of the major American poets of the 20th century, Stevens did not receive widespread recognition until the publication of the collected poems of Wallace Stevens, 1954. Just a year before his death, his other major works include The Necessity, Angel, Alfred A. Knopf, and the collection of essays on poetry, Notes Towards a Supreme Fiction. The Cunnington Press, The Man with the Blue Guitar and the Ideas of Order, 1935. Now the poem which we have here is Peter Quince at Clavier. Peter Quince at Clavier. Now, just as my finger on these keys make music, so the same sound on my spirit make a music too. Music is feeling, that not sound, and thus it's that what I feel. Here in this room, desiring you, thinking of your blue shadow chill. Is music, it's like strain, waked in elders by Susanna. A green evening, clear and warm, she bathed in her still garden while the red-eyed elder watching fed. The basses of their being throb in witching chord and their thin blood plus pizzicati of Hosanna. In the green water clear and warm, Shoshana lay, she searched the touch of spring and found concealed imagining. She sighed for so much melody. Upon the bank she stood in the cool of spent emotion. She felt among the leaves the dew of old devotion. As she walked upon the grass, still quivering, the winds were like her mates on timid feet, fetching her woven scarves, yet wavering. A breeze upon her and muted the night. She turned a cymbal crashed and roaring horns. Soon, with a noise like tambourines, came her attended Byzantines. They wandered by. Susanna cried against the elder by her side, and they whispered the refrain was like a willow swept by him rain, and anon their lamps uplift flame revealed Susanna and her shame. And then the simpering Byzantine flagged with a noise like tambourines. Beauty is momentary in the mind, the fitful tracing of the portal, but the flash is immortal. The body dies, the body beauty lies. So evening dies in the green going, interminably flowing. So gardens dies the weak breath sending, the cowl of winter done repenting. So maidens die to the auroral celebrations of the maidens' choral. Susanna's music touched the body strings of those white elders, but escaping left only that ironic scrapping now. Now, its immortality, its place on the clever viol of her memory, and makes Constance's sacrament of praise. So, that is how we, this poem is in a public domain, and it by the Academy of American Poets. So this poem I'm leaving for your interpretation, but in the next video we'll discuss its theme and everything else. Now let's come to T.S. Eliot. We know, all of us know, is a very famous poet and a modern poet in British literature. So in 1915, Eliot attracted widespread attention in his poem, The Love Songs of J. Alfred Prufrock, which was seen as a masterpiece of the modernist poetry, modernist movement. It was followed by some of the best known poems in English language, including The Wasteland, 1932, The Hollow Man, and The Ash Wednesday, 1930. T.S. Eliot's exercised a strong influence on Anglo-American culture from the 1920s until late in the century. His experiment is in diction, style and versification of a revitalized English poetry, and in a series of critical essays he shattered of old orthodoxies and erected new ones. Eliot challenges the common perception that poet greatness and individuality lie in the departure of their predecessors. He agrees that the most individual part of his poet work may be those in which with the dead poets and his ancestors asserts their immortality most vigorously. T.S. Eliot, born in September 26, 1888, St. Louis, Missouri, US, died January 4, 1965, London, England. He was an American English poet, playwright, literary critic, editor, and a leader of modernist movement in poetry in such works as The Westland 1922 and The Four Quartets 1943. Eliot exercised a strong influence on Anglo-American culture from 1920s until late in the century. His experiment in diction, style and versification revitalized English poetry, and in a series of critical essays he shattered old orthodoxies and erected new ones. The publication of Four Quarters led to his recognition as the greatest living English poet and a man of letters. In 1948, he was awarded both the Order of Merit and the Nobel Prize of Literature. So this is one of the most significant and a very known poem of T.S. Eliot, The Waste Land. April is the cruelest month, breeding cases out of dead land, mixing memory and desire. The string dulls root with spring ray. Winter kept us warm, covering earth in forgetful snow, feeding a little life with dried tubers. Summer surprises coming over a stands buggies with a shower of rain. We stopped in the colonnade and went on sunlight into a half garden and drank coffee and talked for an hour. A Bengal cane Russian, some other language, and then we were children staying at the Archduke's. My cousins, he took me out on a sled and was frightened. He said, Mary, Mary, hold on tight, and down we went. In the mountain, there we feel free. I read much of the night and go south in winter. What are the roots that clutches? What branches grow out of this stony rubbish, son of man? You cannot say or guess, for you know only. A heap of broken image where the sun beats and the dead tree gives no shelter, the cricket no relief, and the dry stone no sound of water. Only there is shadow under this red rock. Come in under the shadow of this red rock, and I will show you something different from either you shadow at morning staying behind and your shadow at evening rising to meet you. I will show you fear in handful of dust. You gave me hyacinths first a year ago. They called me the hyacinth girl. Yet when we come back late from the hyacinth garden, your arm full and your hair wet, I could not speak and my eyes failed. I was neither living nor dead, and I knew nothing looked into the heart of light. The silence, unleashed the mere. Madame Sosostris, famous clairvoyant, had a bad cold. Nevertheless, is known to be the wisest woman in Europe with a wicked pack of cards. Here, Shetsi, is your card the drowned Phoenician sailor? Those are the pearls that were his eyes. Look, here is a Belladonna, the lady of the rocks, the lady of situations. Here is the man with 3 staves, and here the wheels, and here is one-eyed merchant, and this card with his blank is something he carried on his back, which I am forbidden to see. I do not find the hangman. I fear death by water. I see crowd of people walking around in a ring. Thank you. If you see dear Miss Equitone, tell her I bring the horoscope myself. One must be so careful these days. Unreal city, under the brown fog of the winter down, a crowd flower over London Bridge. So many I had not thought death and undone so many sights. Short and frequent were excelled, and each man fixed his eyes before his feet. Flowered upon the hill and down King William streets to where Saint Mary Woolnoth kept the hour with a dead sound on the final stroke of 9. That I saw one I knew that stopped him crying, Stetson, and you were with me in this ship at Meili. That copse you planted last year in your garden hates is begin to sprout. Will it bloom this year? Oh, has sudden first disturbed its bed. Oh, keep the dog for hence, that's the friend to men. Oh, what's his nails? Dig it upon. And you hypocrite, a lecture, mon semblable, mon fearer. So I'm again leaving the explanation here. Now let's come to Elizabeth Bishop. Bishop was born in 1911 in Worcester, Massachusetts. Her father died before her first birthday, and her mother suffered a series of strokes. Bishop worked as a painter as well as a poet, and her verses like visual art is known for its ability to capture significant scenes. Though she was independently wealthy and thus enjoyed a life of some privilege, much of her poetry celebrates working class setting, busy factories, farms, and a fishing village. Question of Travel by Elizabeth Bishop. There are too many waterfalls here. The crowded streams hurry too rapidly down to the sea, and the pressure of so many clouds on the mountains make them spill over the sides in soft slow motion, turning to waterfalls under our very eyes. For all those straits, those miles long, shiny, tear strain aren't waterfall yet. In a quick age or so, as ages go here, they probably will be. But if the stream and the clouds keep traveling, the mountain look like the hulls of the capsized ship, slime hung and barnacle. Think of the long trip home. Should we have stayed at home and thought of here, where should we be today? It is right to be watching strangers in a play in a strand just of theatre, and what childishness is it that while there is a breath of life in our bodies, we are determined to rush to see sun and the other way round. The tiniest green hummingbird in the world to start to some inexplicable old stonework, inexplicable and imperturbable at any view, instantly seen and always delightful. Oh, must we dream our dream and have we room for one more folded sunset, still quite warm. But surely it would have been a pity not to have seen the trees along this road, really exaggerated in their beauty, not to have seen them gesturing like noble phantomimist robot in pink, not to have had to stop for Gesenhatsu. Two noted wooden turns and desperate wooden clocks clearly clacking over in grease-stained filing station in another country the clock would all test. Each pair there would have identical pitches, a pity not to have heard, and the other primitive music of the fat brown bird who sing about the broken gasoline pump in a bamboo church of the Jesuit bark whose 3 towers, 5 silver crosses. Yet a pity not to have pondered blurredly and inconclusively of what connection can exist of the centuries between the crudest wooden footwear and careful and finicky wit-led fantasies of the wooden cage, never to have studied history in the weak calligraphy of the songbirds' cages, and never to have had listened to rain, so much like politicians' speeches, to our unrelating oratory, and then a sudden golden silence in which the travel taker, notebook writes. Is it lack of imagination that makes us come to imagine places, not just stay at home? Or could Pascal have been not entirely right about just sitting quiet in one's room? Continent, city, country, society, the choice is never wider and never free, and here and there, no, should we have stayed at home, wherever that may be. So these are the 3 poems we have covered. One is Elizabeth Bishop, Question of Travel. Then we have read The Wasteland, T.S. Eliot, and the Peter Quince at Clavier Wallace Stevens. So it is a mere introductory video. You can actually wait for the next video in which we'll give all the characteristics and all the explanations related to these poems. So keep watching, share and subscribe. Thank you so much.